How was that? I had expected repetitive music loops and an overly sugar-encrusted experience when launching Nancy Drew: The Hidden Staircase on my DS for the first time. This is not for the sake of an assumption on the part of Nancy's identity. While I have no personal history with her, I do know her to be a female pop culture icon older than my parents, and a revered one at that. More so, the matter of this being a DS game from 2011, in the height of exclusiveness in gamer culture, is what primed these thoughts. I was utterly incorrect, for this E-rated game is straightforward, mature in its appearance despite the box art, and has no gendered design where so many executives may have deemed it a girl game and dismissed it. That is refreshing, as I emulate the mindset of a young player in 2011. But it is the last peaceful thought the game will let you have. Somberly, the game starts without a menu, dropping you in front of a mansion as a vicious storm approaches. All dialogue and narration is delivered via the top screen with no voice acting, forcing you to keep your eyes on it as the 3D animation on the bottom of the screen remains unseen. Do you see the truth of reality without any context, or understand its meaning while remaining blind? You cannot have both. You have been bifurcated. Despite having the appearance of a puzzle adventure game like Myst, or more appropriately, The Seventh Guest, the game itself is not a puzzle game. All three primary levels in the game are, in fact, hidden object games whose core loop would not be out of place on an iPhone. While I cannot confirm this, I have a high suspicion that the graphics for this game may have been nabbed from a mobile game, or an older adventure game. The book it is based on is quite old. In fact, it is the second one ever written in its first series. This means any material relating to the story could have been quite old, and these graphics do not sing a mobile game aesthetic as much as they do a cheap PC game. Uncertain speculation is what this is, however, and it should not be believed without any further evidence. Once you collect every item in a level and return it to the character who asked you to retrieve it, the game advances. There's little in the way of soundtrack, music only playing during some cinematics and after you beat the game. What you will be hearing is the sound of the unrelenting storm and, once you're inside the Twin Elms estate itself, the ticking and talking of a grandfather clock, loud enough to be heard anywhere in the house. Something you have discovered by then is that the game is in fact timed, and while it is a technically generous clock, it absolutely racked me with anxiety. You are given a rank based on how fast you finish levels, so the expectation compels you to rush, during which you may miss screens. I have explored every nook and cranny of this house, and sometimes the items don't spawn, either too obscure for my manic eyes or completely non-existent, forcing me to wander these halls, waiting for my death, as I surge between screens in a frantic rush, checking the same locations over and over, or restarting the level by powering down the DS. Even when you pause, the sound effects continue, and the sound of the grandfather clock ticking away while that continue button flashes makes me wonder if I've been tricked, and therefore damned. The final section of the game forces you into a dark attic with only a flashlight to guide your way. It puts you on edge, but it is another trick. After a game of searching for hidden objects, the key here is not to explore but to run for it. Do not linger in the dark. At the end are the two actual puzzles in the game. A fill-in-the-shape slide puzzle and a trial-by-error press-the-buttons in the right order puzzle. After solving the latter, the game launches into a cutscene longer than most of the levels, giving all of its story in a single burst before ending. It then entices you to play again and get the highest rank, which I surmise requires you to beat the entire game in less than 5 minutes. In the first level, there's a man, Albert Weston, whom you see run into a cave for cover from the storm. He is entirely unrelated to this story, a red herring never mentioned or acknowledged outside of talking to him. I do not know what happened to Albert when the storm arrived. All I know is that caves don't have doors.